Hi there, it's Gareth from Rockfiend, and I'm joined by Anchor Lane, Conor, Lawrence, and Graeme. Hi guys, how you getting on?
Not bad, Gareth. Yourself, mate?
Well, thanks, mate.
Brilliant, not bad at all. See, you've got a hotel room behind you there. I didn't realise it was going to be this type of interview.
Yeah,
Yeah, this
we're
is
all about the surprises.
the shared hotel room. You can tell by the artwork.
A hotel artwork. It was really the double bed that was a giveaway, but anyway.
Fair enough.
So you guys are out on tour at the moment. You're in Bradford. Where are you at the moment? Newcastle or Bradford?
We're in Newcastle right now.
We're in Newcastle right now. So you're on tour for it's a 14-date UK tour if we include the Glasgow show last week, and that's all to promote your brand new album, Call This a Reality.
That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's great. So thanks for joining us. It's brilliant to have you here. So Call This a Reality, released 27th of January, just last Friday. So you're just about 8 days in now. How's it been received so far?
I think it's been received amazingly well.
Yeah.
Like it's like obviously now that we're out on tour and we're talking to people who have bought the album and listened to it and like the amount of people that are saying to us that they haven't had it off.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking to us about this lyric in that song and this lyric in that song and this song's about that and like that, it's not even just I like the songs, it's talking about the more kind of complex arc of like the songs in general and kind of like the themes that we're talking about in the album that people are talking to us about. So it shows that like as much as like people have listened to it, they've took it on board and they're resonating with it.
Mm-hmm. So in my own review for Rockfiend last week, I think I finished off it by saying that I feel that you've pressed reset, you've challenged yourselves, you've pushed boundaries, you've created a modern, fresh, alternate rock album. Do you think that's a fair comment?
I think that's pretty much out of their own mouths. Like, it sounds like you were a fly on the wall in one of our conversations, because that's kind of what we're talking about. We wanted to create a fresh, exciting, innovative album that did something a bit new, not just for us, but for whatever genre people want to class us in. And I think just be offering something different without trying too hard. It was kind of one of the things we did really well. Some not even just bands. It's kind of a social thing now where people really try to be different and almost become something completely different from what they actually are. Whereas we wanted to create something fresh and exciting that was also really genuine. And as you said, it kind of challenged ourselves and challenged everyone's perception of us as a band, and taking that kind of risk of, even though we have a solid fan base behind us, taking the risk to maybe lose some of that to be more of what we want to be.
I actually first saw the band 2016. It was either an audio or stereo, Conor. I can't remember which one it was. It was one of the two. And at that very gig, you had a kind of audio recording from, it was maybe Strawberry Fields or somewhere like that you were selling. It was a live recording. But you weren't selling it, you were giving it away, actually.
Away, yeah.
And I've still got that. But when I listened to that, and then you listen to the New Beginnings EP, and then we bring Casino in after that, it really is I don't know if it's fair to say a massive change of direction in this album, but it definitely has a new sound that you've gone for. And as Graeme, I think you've just said there, now that was a deliberate action then. You were looking for something that was new and different to define yourselves differently and maybe make people think that you're not quite what they expected, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we're going to track our minds back to 2016, that was, a long time ago now. Like I was 20.
Yeah.
That show, and I remember. And so like that was a young band, and that's kind of the thing that I think is sort of kind of jarred a lot of people, is that like this band, has been going since I was 19 and I'm 27 next month. So like it's been going a long time, like considering how young we still are. Like it's been going a while, and the sort of teething and the sort of like growing pains that a lot of bands go through before anyone kind of notices them, we sort of went through them while people were starting to notice us, and we kind of gathered sort of a kind of relatively decent following quite early on in our career, probably like earlier than what most bands would, where they weren't kind of in a sort of fully formed package. And it feels like only now are we really kind of realizing what this band is supposed to be. It has been a process of like, you know, something changes, like a new member comes in or whatever, and then it's, oh, we can do this now, oh, like we can kind of mold this way, and then someone else comes in and other people leave, and all of a sudden, like, the band is different. And you know, now we're at this point here where it's like, you know, everything that if I'm going to speak personally here, that I've been trying to achieve is coming to fruition, and that's been an 8 year, you know, an 8 year journey to get to this point.
And do you view that journey as complete now? This is the sound you'll go for, or do you think you'll continue to progress that sound from this point?
I think that we'll continue to progress because we're not the kind of musicians that want to just like rest on our laurels and keep bringing out the same stuff all the time. We want to keep progressing, keep getting better. But rather than it being, you know, like, oh, you know, we don't resonate with this as much anymore, like we need to change. It's more just like, okay, we've got this really solid foundation that we've built upon that we feel represents us in the best possible way. We can now build upon that.
Yeah, well, to add to that, really well put. There's a lot of music out there, and we like a lot of different kinds of music, a lot of different sounds and colours, feelings, I feel like. And you know, I think we're just the three kind of guys of why would you create the same thing twice? Because if you kind of just replicate yourself, it's kind of like you already know the end outcome at the beginning. But when we made this album, you know, the only thing we had in our discography prior to it, of albums at least, was Casino. So, you know, I just don't. We have no idea what the next album's going to sound like, but it will definitely be different, and it'll be the first one where Matthew, our former bass player, isn't in it. You know, for at least some of the writing sessions. So it will be different, and but you know, we don't know what that sounds like yet.
And I think that's credit to yourselves. I think it's easy to stick to the same formula all the time, in the knowledge that these guys will love it. They'll come and see us like this. But as Graeme just said actually a couple of minutes ago, yeah, you do risk losing fans when you try something different. But at the same time, you're going to pick up new fans. And I think that's exactly what you've done with this album so far. Looking at what's online, some of the comments in different music forums, it's attracting fans from elsewhere. I don't actually think you've lost that many, if I'm honest with you. I think a lot of people have enjoyed being in that kind of this journey with you. If that, you know, I hate using that word journey, it's overused, but yeah, they've been in this journey with you. So I think that they've enjoyed that. So I don't think you'll have lost any fans, but I genuinely think with this bold new sound you've got, you'll have attracted a whole load of fans, and hopefully we'll see the venues getting bigger and bigger for your live dates. But as I say, it's credit to you that you're challenging yourself and you're trying to be different. So looking back to Call This a Reality, it was produced by Bruce Runtoul. Now, going back to Casino, that was Toby Jepson, obviously more known for the hard rock stuff. Bruce, more kind of twin Atlantic, father-son, that type of rock. So how did that come about?
One of these, we had a lot of this discussion, didn't we, about who we would choose next, because obviously we had this idea of this is the direction we want to take the album in. Obviously we can't go with a guy like Toby again. So we need to kind of find someone, and very early on Bruce was one of the first names that came to mind, because, you know, Glasgow based, has worked with bands that we enjoy, and that produced that kind of sound that we wanted. And then I guess from there, the only question was whether he would be on board with us and be, you know if he could achieve the sound that we wanted. And you know, we had that first kind of initial meeting, and it was very much like, yeah, you know, I know what you guys want, I know I can achieve this with you, kind of thing. And then it kind of grew arms and legs from there. We got him in for a couple of pre-pro kind of sessions. Thankfully they weren't long, because we basically had already done a lot of the pre-production ourselves, and the album is kind of ready to go and ready to be recorded, and Bruce kind of just came in and added those little layers on top. And very, very soon it became very apparent that he was the right choice. And he was, you know, anytime we got a mix back, I think the first time we got the first group of 4 mixes back, I went like that, 4 mixes, four mixes back, we instantly were like, vindication, that, you know, we picked the right guy. This is even, some of them were even bigger and better than we thought they were going to be. So it was a case of, we knew the sound we were going to go for, and then from there you have to then complement that. I suppose it's like a director or producer when they're doing a film, they need to pick the right cast. And although you can't really audition producers, you can still get a feel for them from, you know, their previous work and then your conversations with them, and it was seamless.
I think one of the things with Bruce was that like we listened, because most of the bands that Bruce produces, he also mixes them as well, and we just listened to the mixes that he was creating, and it was so clean and crisp, and like the big thing was about how the drums sound, because like Graeme was very much, when we were listening to other producers and other bands who maybe worked with other folk, you know, like a big thing was about how good can they do the drums, because you know guitars can sound good to a certain degree with very minimal work, but drums, it's almost a dark art getting a drum sound to kind of, you know, really pop. And that was certainly something that we listened to, and we thought you can hear every note that the guitar player's playing, you can hear every roll on the snare drum. There was a cleanness, considering he was, you know, like you listen to like a band like the Colby that he's produced, like there's a cleanness to the production despite it's this really gnarly sounding band.
So going to the sound of the album itself, there's a few tracks in it now. I cringe when I look back at my review, and I mentioned it's a Stranger Things type of sound. I knew what I meant in my head. I don't know if that translated to anybody else, but I knew what I meant. But there's that kind of electro pop sound in some of the tracks. Misery, I'll Be Waiting, which by the way is probably my favourite track on it. I'll Be Waiting is absolutely fantastic. So you've gone for a kind of electro pop sound that's in the background, if you like. It's not at the forefront, but at the same time, without it, the track wouldn't be the same. So is that something that you went out to do before recording it? Did you have that idea, or is that something that came along as the recording progressed?
I think it was just part to do with our influences. Like we had, you know, bands like Bring Me the Horizons, newer stuff. It's got a lot of electronic influence. Or
There's even a bit of influence from the Weeknd album.
Yeah,
I love the synths on the Weeknd.
Yeah.
And like Wolf Alice and even Royal Blood's newer stuff with kind of, it's more kind of disco, and it's got like those keyboard parts and what else. So it was just kind of, you know, we thought, well, we can add a new layer to this kind of stuff, and especially as, you know, we hadn't fully formed how we were going to replicate it live. That was just kind of a thing that happened afterwards. But we thought, you know, we're not going to creatively limit ourselves here in giving these songs the production they deserve. I've Been Waiting is my favorite, by the way, as well. So thanks for that. The Stranger Things thing is funny because the idea for that came to me when I was watching Terminator. And it's the bit after the nightclub scene, and like Arnie's kind of chasing the guy through the street, and there's this kind of weird synthy bit that's just kind of really chaotic. I was like, oh, I'm going to write something because that just sounds great. So I popped an octave pedal on, and then go to the studio, and Conor goes, oh, Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Seriously?
No, seriously, like you said, Stranger Things.
Feel better here, no?
No, like, because that was for Sycophant Disorder.
Yeah.
And Lawrence came out, and I was like, mate, that sounds like the Stranger Things intro. And we were like, 100%, there needs to be a synth underneath that.
Yeah.
So well done on getting the Stranger Things reference.
I actually feel slightly vindicated here.
We knew what you meant.
So, Lawrence, and get back to you. The guitars are magnificent throughout. They're really well played. It's just great. But one thing that I've noticed is, you have your solos here and there, not in every song, but there's a solo here and there. But you never feel the need to overplay. And actually, when I look back at my review of Casino 3 years ago, I think I mentioned the same there. You don't feel the need to I don't know if show off's the word, but to completely overplay. You do what's needed for the song. Is that something that you've learned to do as years go on, as opposed to being about you? It's about the song and the band.
Well, thank you for basically answering my question for me, because that's like to me, it's always been like, I'm known as kind of a fast guitarist, but the music and giving something that suits the context is way more important than that, and melody and sense of journey and you know, the likes of those kind of things is much more important than to just. I don't know that this was the kind of album where we wanted everything to actually have a meaning to it. Didn't want to have any sort of like you know fluctuating down the way spots where you're just like, that could do without that could do without that. And the modern alternative sound isn't that shreddy, to be honest. And you can just kind of tell, like, I would be putting that in for the sake of
it's not shreddy yet. Wait till album 3.
But what Conor said. But there's no point in the same way that Graeme, you know, can chop the hell out of the drums, but like there's only a few bits where it's like, oh damn, you know, the rest of it is song serving. It's all song serving.
Mhm.
It's the same reason that the guitar parts and the bass parts and the drum parts are all like there's not that much that's too busy, and if it is, it's kind of a rogue instrumental in contrast with the the verse and the chorus
Yeah.
Of the song. You know, the point was to write good songs and then kind of put the fancy stuff on top rather than, you know, every instrumentalist can riff for days on the respective thing, and it can pretty much nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So the point was to just be like songs.
Yeah, I think the best example of it was I don't have another soul to pour, because when we worked on that song, like, how long was it? Like nearly 6 minutes.
No,
when
that's no.
How long was it?
30 seconds longer than it ended up being. But we basically changed more instrumental for more vocal.
Right. I remember it being like, oh well, it was long, and there was like, and like the instrumental section that's in I Don't Have Another Soul to Pour was like a minute.
There was like an extra
Wasn't
solo, and we changed it for the.
That's right. Yeah. And I remember like I mean, and it was brilliant. Like it was great, but it was that way where you sat, you know, and like you make a decision in that moment where it's like, are we writing, you know, a pop influenced rock album here, or are we writing, you know, an instrumentally, you know, sort of like virtuoso album? And we did have to kind of make that decision, and while still kind of maintain. It's funny, we were actually talking about this in the band.
Yeah.
Like we had to kind of make the decision of, we're writing, you know, a pop rock album here. Let's just, you know, just call it that. Everyone tries to kind of get around the word pop, but you know, like pop just means popular.
Of course it does. Yeah.
Plenty of pop is brilliant.
Exactly. And so that we were like, you know, does this minute-long amazing bit where Lawrence and Graeme really get to show off their musicianship, does that service the song, or does it alienate the last section of the song from the rest of the song? And like, there's not really a right or wrong answer to that. It's kind of all contextual, and just in that moment we're like, well, what are we trying to achieve here? Are we trying to be this band that wants to, you know, appeal to people and make a connection, or do we want to be a band that everyone's going to watch us and go, oh, how amazing are they at playing their instruments? Neither of those answers are wrong, but it's just deciding on what we want to achieve with that song. And we decided, well, we want this song to connect with people and for people to feel like they can join in with it, and to do that it needs to be more about the song and about the lyrics and about the vocals, and less about the instruments.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so important thing is that the instrumental section has plenty to it, even the way we left it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We still kept those core components. It's still, you know, it's still got that, like, you know, that cool part where you guys do get to show off. It's just not. It's just 30 seconds shorter.
Kind of cool though. You know, that's just another song that came at the last moment. That was kind of one of the last ideas I came in with.
Yeah.
And we just fleshed it out pretty quickly. Two or three sessions, and it was good to go.
And just before we talk about the tour, Graeme, you're the newbie in the band. You're really not. It's a good few years now, but you're the newbie of the three in front of me now. What attracted you to Anne Caroline? What made you think that, I'm going to be a good fit for them?
I don't really know. I had known the boys. I met Lawrence first through kind of jamming around town, and obviously immediately Lawrence's musicianship struck me. And you know, I had moved away to London a few years ago to go and study and play with great musicians, and almost in a way didn't actually find what I was looking for, and came back and saw Lawrence and went, this is the kind of guy that I need to be in a band with, because he'll push me and I'll push him. And so we had played a few times together. I'd met Conor in Box, met the whole band in Box, and then through a few, you know, chats and whatever, eventually me and my flatmate at the time had helped the boys out in terms of transporting them to the Cheap Trick gig and stuff, and helping set up and do some tech work and whatnot. And then it kind of went from there. I was sitting in my bed during lockdown. Was it during lockdown or just before lockdown?
No, it was during lockdown.
And the boys had phoned me. Lawrence phoned me, and to be honest, I kind of knew immediately that he was going to ask me to join Anne Caroline. I just had one of those feelings, or at least audition. And it kind of went from there. I learned all the tunes, went in, played them, and
he nailed them. He nailed them. It was perfect. It was like a dream come true. Yeah. It was amazing.
And that was that. And I just knew it wasn't a question of me, do I want to do this? It was very much just, how do I let down my current bandmates? Because I'm my ambition was always to be in an original band, creating original music. I'm not a cover musician. I don't want to play other people's tunes. I want to create my own and create good and make my own impact and make my impact with a band. And I hadn't really found that brotherhood properly. And then, very, 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 very quickly found that in Anchor Line.
That's actually a cracking story when you hear that about how you didn't want to play somebody else's music, wanted to play your own. You found these guys. We'll get a quote in there somewhere for the head for this interview, I'm sure.
Absolutely, yep.
So talking about live music, moving on to the live scene, then you had what we'll call it the album release party at the G2 on Saturday night in Glasgow, but you could also argue it was the first date of 14-date UK tour that you're now on, hence why you're in Newcastle to speak to me at the moment. Now, to go back to Glasgow, Conor, you came on stage, and the first thing that struck me is no guitar. Now, this is where I have to admit I made a mistake, because I thought I had read somewhere ages ago that you were taking over bass duties, and I've got that completely wrong in the reviews.
That's all right, Gareth.
I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
You may have seen some, like when we were writing the album when Matthew left, I was playing bass in the studio, but simply just to keep the machine moving,
right.
Not to take over the bass duties, because we did talk about it. But the thing was that that would have then limited me as a frontman, because with even if I've just got the guitar on me, Lawrence is he's the lead guitar player. Majority of what happens sonically with the guitars is down to him, not down to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have free rein to drop the guitar and just walk about and be a frontman.
Yeah.
If I'm on bass, I need to be locked in with Graeme all the time. Obviously there is, great bassists that have been able to do it. Phil Lynott, Geddy Lee being two ones that come to my mind. They've been able to be a frontman and be a bass player, but I'm not a bass player. So that just wasn't going to happen.
We kind of discovered a new element of you as well. Like Conor without a guitar is a force of nature on stage.
Absolutely, yep.
I had seen the band a few times live before I joined, and never saw that because he had the guitar. He was always a prominent, great frontman, but taking the guitar away was almost like taking not the guitar holds you back in any way, but it was almost like taking the chains off and going, on you go, be who you were supposed to be. And the way Conor jumps about the stage, we're a three-piece, but the way the two of these guys jump about the stage, and that interplay between each other really grabs the eye. And I think, Conor's absolutely right. We had those discussions of, well, if you play the bass, it's going to hinder you more than it's going to benefit you and the band as a whole, because it just has such a presence as a frontman jumping about. And I think we're much better for it.
We just need to get you a trampoline now, so you can bounce about. You can
bounce his feet. Yeah, it's not quite as bouncy, but we'll work on it.
We'll get that. What's the thing that Tommy Lee had where he went upside down and it was
yeah.
The difference is he's an egomaniac, and I'm not.
He's an egomaniac.
I'm
not comparing him. I'm just saying we do it, but we do it better.
Aye, well, that's naturally.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Well, just talking actually about the movement between Conor and Lawrence. My wife was with me on Saturday night, and I think the motherly side kicked in with her. She was concerned for your neck, Lawrence.
I get this a lot. My neck's fine.
She's whispering to me as if I could hear over the system. She was like, his neck. It's like, what? His neck? Like, yep, he's fine.
Aye. Listen, he can't button that top shirt. His neck's like.
So again, talking about the live side, then I mentioned I'm going to have to go back to my own review again. I mentioned that in my opinion, having heard you over the years when you were a young boy to hearing you more recently, I wanted to watch this because Zoom tells me we've got 10 minutes to go. But anyway, absolutely. But one of the things that I've noted is that I think your sound is made for a live setting. The record's brilliant. It's absolutely superb. Great. We're seeing the reviews coming in. But live, you just sound so much heavier, more aggressive, more powerful. Do you feel that yourself? Do you think you are a live band?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I feel like we're having this conversation with you guys. We had this conversation in the van to Newcastle today. Lives where we, not to say this, live is where we thrive.
There's your headline.
But we're a live band. We love playing live. We love watching live music. Live is what it's all about. And I think that where someone if they maybe, and I'm saying maybe because I think that most people are going to listen to Call Us a Reality and they are going to get it and they're going to be on board from listening to it. But see, even if they don't get on board from listening to the album, when they see us live, they'll get it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we play with our hearts in our sleeve and we play with intensity and ferocity, and that's what the album's about.
Mm-hmm. You get this. Sometimes you see a band and it's a little bit underwhelming. You know, you go to see them live and you're like, okay, like, all right. And I think we don't need to hide behind their instruments or anything. It's very much, you know, we're confident in what we do. We know we're kind of born to do this, if you like, and it's live is where we do feel most comfortable. It's almost a cliche for some people, but like, you know, the more people you're in front of, it's kind of easier.
It's still the best feeling.
It's just natural, and I think that happens with some bands naturally. Some people won't be as good or as confident live, so you get this amazing album, and then live you just don't get the same thing because it turns out they were kind of hiding behind the, you know, insecurities or their instruments a wee bit. But you know, we're just heart in our sleeves, as you say, and
heart in our sleeves and necks in a cast.
Necks in a cast. There you go.
So I think, including your Newcastle show, which is coming up, I think you've got 13 dates to go then before you finish in Edinburgh at the end of February. So I would, anyone that's watching this, get yourself out to see. I mean, Saturday night in Glasgow genuinely was phenomenal. I'm not just saying that because I like you guys and I like your music, and I feel as if because I've watched your music grow since you were younger, that I've got some kind of affinity, if you like, with you. I genuinely mean it. It was a cracking gig. There's no one could walk in there and not say that was a great gig. And I would recommend for anyone who's watching this, they've got 13 dates to go. Get out there and see Anchor Lane live. So where else are you going, guys, over the next few weeks? Where people can hear?
Ready? He's ready. He's listening. Okay. We're in Manchester. We're in Grimsby, Plymouth, Bridgewater, Birmingham, Stoke-on-Trent, Chester, Milton Keynes, Nottingham, Aberdeen, and Edinburgh. And if you want to see it further, it's right there on my phone. That's how I
be backwards, isn't it?
It's going to be backwards.
No, perfect. And more importantly, as if I've prepared, here it is. Here it is. So, for anyone who's watching this, who's maybe not heard the album, who's maybe just not bought it yet, tell me, where can you get it?
You can get it on anchorlanemusic.com. We've got our page where you can go on there from Townsend Music. You can order t-shirt, vinyl, CD, digital download. Don't do the digital download, man. Get the CD now. Because it makes us more money. Yeah. It's all there.
So you're on tour, the album's out. What's next for Anchor Lane?
World domination.
I was going to say that.
What do you say that?
You do.
Just be told after the 25th of February, we have no idea. Like,
no.
As far as I'm concerned, personally,
we joked earlier. We'll get home and we'll go. We can finally have a night out together, which is something we've been trying to do for about 2 years. Yeah. I'll be like, we can get a night out, and then Emma will email us and go, you're on tour again next week. So that's most likely what will happen. Yeah.
Like it'll be like spoon into the curry, like.
And
the fans outside, right, boys? Let's go. Right.
Well, if you're on tour, it means people are listening.
Exactly.
We've already noticed, we played the same venue that we played last night, Night Train. We played that a few months ago, and already the turnout was markedly better last night. So it proves that people have heard the album, they're getting a hold of it, and they're getting a buzz about it, which is great.
And they're getting on board the Anchor Lane train.
That's it.
Oh, Anchor Lane train. That's a lyric.
Yeah. Album 3.
Well, guys, it's been a pleasure, an absolute pleasure speaking to you. It genuinely has been great watching you grow, and Conor, then Lawrence coming on board, Graeme now on. It's been great watching you grow into the musicians that you are. You're always lovely guys to speak to as well, and that actually makes a massive difference. People take to people who have got a kind of nice side to them. Yeah, everybody feels in rock and roll you need to maybe have this kind of edgy, can we say, asshole side, but as you get older, that doesn't impress you. Speaking to guys like you, I've got a genuine passion for your craft, and you genuinely just love music and want to entertain people. It's absolutely refreshing. The fact that you're boys from our very own wee country as well makes a big difference to us guys, and we'll support you all the way. So thanks very much. Best of luck for the tour, guys. Hope it goes well, and I'm sure it will. Best of luck for the rest of the album release. Hope the sales continue to go up, and we'll watch with interest what comes next. But thanks for speaking to Rockfiend. It's been an absolute pleasure, guys.
Thanks so much, Gareth. Thank you.
Take care.